I'm sure most of you watched Jason Kenney's victory speech, and you probably noticed the hard line he's going to take against anti-oil, anti-Alberta groups that are foreign-funded or homegrown. Now, these are groups like the Tides Foundation, the David Suzuki Foundation, the Rockefeller Brothers Fund, Progress Alberta, Leadnow, Climate Justice, and many more. The goal of these groups is simple: sway voters towards anti-oil politicians to landlock and control Alberta's vital industries. But their days of slandering our oil and gas sector could very well be limited once Kenney establishes his war room. Now, this is going to be a totally different way of dealing with these environmental activists compared to what Rachel Notley did. And you might remember that she did everything she could to appease these environmental activists. And the tar sands campaign actually brags about how she played right into their hands by doing everything they asked of her. Whereas Kenney will put his foot down and even take some of these groups to court to try to strip their charity status and end the steady stream of attacks on our energy sector. This has a few local groups scared, and they're fundraising now for their own war room. Now, while I was going through my newsfeed, I came across a post from that crazy millennial snowflake showing an email her friend received from Leadnow.ca looking for donations to fight against Jason Kenney. This all got me wondering, who exactly is Leadnow? So I did a little bit of digging. Now, back in 2010, they were founded with the goal of, and I quote, building an independent community that works together to help set the political agenda, take effective action on important issues, and shift elections. Now, this is all on their About section on their Facebook page. In 2011, Leadnow brought in Ben Branzel, who was a director for the Citizen Engagement Laboratory, which started the same time as the tar sands campaign and is heavily funded by the Tides Foundation. Branzel came into Leadnow to help bring in tools to sway elections by running intense social media campaigns targeting young voters. And in 2012, Leadnow changed their policy on foreign funds so they could accept donations from the Tides Foundation. Vivian Krause wrote a great report on these guys. In 2015, they went under investigation from Canada's election watchdog for meddling with our federal election, which foisted Justin Trudeau into power. Now, the charges of using foreign funds for advertising, colluding with third parties and political entities, and failing to report expenses were dropped after a 3-year investigation, finding them not guilty. Looking at our own election, Leadnow decided to meddle once again with some digital door knocking, working hand in hand with Progress Alberta, which is another group you will never ever hear Rachel Notley mention. But what really gave me some what the duck moments while going through their website and social media is how misleading and how inaccurate their facts are. Like saying, for example, that 70% of Canadians support a carbon tax and that fighting against climate action groups makes you a far-right racist. But what's worse is they're pushing this agenda on our kids, and that doesn't sit well with me. Now has also started a massive campaign against the Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion and have teamed up with other groups like Climate Justice Edmonton, who are also fundraising in preparation for Kenney's war room. Climate Justice Edmonton wants people to resist oil and gas development more actively and made some jabs at Kenney's war room while trying to make their sound more appealing to teens with things like pizza parties and that they are the only ones who understand Instagram. Now, I don't consider myself old or overly tech savvy, but Instagram wasn't that hard to figure out. I only had to ask my daughter a few times how to work it. Every post they make, they're desperately trying to give the illusion that they're not afraid and that they won't back down when Kenney goes after them. But if they weren't doing anything wrong and have nothing to hide, they wouldn't have had to launch their campaign for their own war room to begin with. What really irritated me is the fact that their target groups are kids like mine, and they're using propaganda, scare tactics, and pizza parties to get them on side. So to suddenly cry foul because people are finally starting to stand up to groups like Leadnow doesn't just make them a bunch of hypocrites, it also makes them my ducker of the week.